Basketball genius, pass master revolutionizes slam dunk universe. Please like, share and subscribe. Episode 91, The Same Persistence. The rebounding is mine. The shouts made Sakuragi Hanamichi look dazed. Sakuragi has played 4 or 5 games with practice matches, but in terms of statistics, he has only focused on scoring. Although the column of my own score is always in the single digits, I also enjoy it. The word rebounding was just a task, or a skill, in his mind. As for why everyone is letting him grab 2 more now, he really doesn't understand. Focus on the game, don't care about the sounds. Takeshi Akagi reminded with a dark face. Seeing that Sakuragi was able to achieve this level in rebounding was actually extremely relieved for Akagi. I remember 2 months ago, every day after the team practice, I worked overtime for Sakuragi, taught him card positions, taught him to judge the rebound landing point, when Sakuragi was still as immature as a chick, and he also disdained this kind of thing about rebounding. Sakuragi has become an indispensable member of Northern Shinang, and is even about to write his own name into the history of Kanagawa. In Akagi's heart, Sakuragi is like a seed sprinkled with his own hands, which has experienced germination and growth, and finally has reached the moment of fruition. It's just that Akagi also knows Sakuragi's temperament quite well, and if you explain these things to him now, this guy can float and fly. Maybe 2 rebounds didn't take it and sent yourself off. The gains outweigh the losses, and some of the opportunities that are close to you, once missed, may never meet again. So Akagi adopted his own way to keep Sakuragi focused, and she will definitely cooperate with him to accomplish this feat. Sakuragi Hanamichi pouted. Knowing the orangutan, this genius is very focused now. It wasn't just Sakuragi who was focused, but also Yukazu Takashiro. In the second half, Wu Dayu was undoubtedly his strongest form. There are no more distractions in my mind, and I am completely immersed in the game. Keep running, keep fighting, there is no moment to stop. This also led to a sharp depletion of Mitsui Sho's physical energy with him. At halftime, the body that had just eased up a little was a little overwhelmed. Coach Anze could have given him more rest in the second half, but he didn't. The reason is to adapt Mitsui to the state of the physical tipping point. In the following matches, Mitsui has important tasks at both ends of the offensive and defensive ends, and the physical barrier must be broken through as soon as possible. Also let him know where his limits are. Xiangbei attacked, Bai Ze rushed from the right flank, and killed 2 defenders to the penalty area. The body suddenly leaned forward during the march, and the defender immediately raised his vigilance. This time he wants to hit the frame. However, Bai Ze's ball holder flipped outward, and the basketball came out like a bullet. The ball goes straight through the human slit and flies to the bottom right corner. Kazumi Kawasaki couldn't help but nod on the sidelines, this ball was handled so beautifully. Whether it's timing, angles, or the ability to read defenses, it's perfect. Kazumi Kawasaki has always focused on team basketball, and he has always believed in 1 + 1, 2. What Bai Ze showed was too much in line with his philosophy. If it weren't for his own stance, he really wanted to applaud Bai Ze like the audience, to enjoy this kind of flowing attack, and to play the team to the extreme. Mitsui received a pass in the bottom corner, and it happened to be a point guard at this moment. As long as he throws the ball as usual, he can complete this attack perfectly. But his movements became a little slower. Mitsui gasped as if the basketball in his hand had become heavier. It was this slow half-beat that made Wu Dayu and catch up. Mitsui jumped out of his hand, even though he was tired, but the shooting action was like it was engraved in his DNA, and it was always flawless. As soon as the ball was shot, Mitsui's view was obscured by a hand. Wu Dayu jumped up with all his strength, and the fingertips of one hand wiped the basketball. As a result, the basketball's flight trajectory was also skewed. Rebound! Mitsui shouted. The basketball pops up. At the same time, Wu Dayu and Na Zheng jumped hard and made themselves lose their center of gravity, and they hit the floor with one foot and fell directly to the ground. The rebounding is mine. Sakuragi Hanamichi shouted a sprint to jump. Takeshi Akagi was under the basket, and one person jammed Tsukute's 2 inside linemen. Minamigo gritted his teeth anxiously, but he couldn't break free of Akagi's iron arm. Akagi stands tall like a mountain, shielding all the wind and rain for the cherry blossomichi. Syllable. Sakuragi Hanamichi successfully took off the rebound. The audience couldn't help but shout. 21. Just as Sakuragi landed, a pair of hands suddenly came and clamped the basketball in Sakuragi's hand like pliers. Takeshi Akagi's face was shocked. The fifth generation is obviously in the bottom corner, but now it appears here. Just as Sakuragi was grabbing the rebound, Goyo got up from the ground and rushed to the basket again. This may be the last strength of the 5 generations, and the last persistence of the 5 generations. Sakuragi and Goyo both grabbed the basketball, and Sakuragi should have blown him up in terms of strength. But at this time, the eyes of the 5 generations were like torches, and the strength of the whole body burst out. The momentum surprised Akagi. Such a Wu-Dayu, he has never seen it. The rebounding is Suhisa's. The 5th generation roared, and the whole person showed hideousness. Seeing that the ball was about to be taken away by Sakuragi, his whole body subconsciously threw it hard. Bang! An elbow flung into Sakuragi's eyes. Sakuragi Hanamichi fell to the ground with this elbow, and blood immediately flowed from the corner of his eye. The referee's whistle also sounded at the same time, angrily pointing at Wu-Dayu, and directly sentenced him to leave the field. Takeshi Akagi, who was nearby, hurriedly squatted down to check Sakuragi's situation, and this time, Sakuragi was still clutching the basketball in his hand. The corners of Sakuragi's mouth hooked in blood. The rebounding is mine. At that moment, an indescribable emotion reached Akagi's heart, and he felt that his eyes were actually a little hot. However, Akagi quickly calmed down and hummed with relief, "It seems that you are all right." The teammates also arrived, and Saiko also ran up anxiously with the medical kit, carefully treating Sakuragi's wounds. Until this time, a girl in the audience stopped her anxious footsteps 1.0, clasped her hands together uneasily, and looked at the situation off the field worriedly. On the other side, Wu-Dayu seemed to be flustered. "Drop off. I can't drop it yet. I can't send it off." Then he yelled at the referee, "I didn't mean it. You can see clearly that I really didn't mean it. What a penalty is this?" Seeing this, Kazumi Kawasaki hurriedly ran onto the field and grabbed Goyo. "Okay, 5 generations, follow me." Wu-Dayu gritted his teeth unwillingly. "Coach, I'm..." Without waiting for him to finish, Kazumi Kawasaki patted Goyo's shoulder thoughtfully. "Enough already, you're doing well enough, Godai," apologized to Sakuragi. Wu-Dayu looked into Coach Kawasaki's eyes, slowly relaxed, exhaled, and looked at Sakuragi. "I'm sorry." Episode 92, Genius Transforms. Kanagawa Rebounding King is now alive. A word of sorry contains too many emotions for 5 generations. This sorry is not only said to Sakuragi Hanamichi, it contains Kazumi Kawasaki, includes herself, and even contains Takeshi Akagi. He knew his high school basketball career would come to an end at this moment. There is unwillingness, regret, and a little relief in my heart. After that, Wu-Dayu walked off the field with Kazumi Kawasaki. Takeshi Akagi looked at his back, feeling that the 5 generations at this moment seemed to have put down a lot of things, and their shoulders relaxed a lot. Because of the malicious foul of the 5th generation, the game was also forced into a timeout. Sakuragi Hanamichi was really not a big deal, but a piece of skin had opened in the corner of his eye, and Saiko was bandaging him simply. In his words, he should go to see if Ing Dayukazu has a broken elbow, which is less than 10 minutes before the end of the game. Shinobi led Sukutake 99-42 by 57 points. Sukutake bench seat 26. Because of the departure of Wu-Dayu, the mood of the players was very low. In the second half, it was he who led everyone to charge again and again, infecting everyone with the spirit of never giving up, making everyone forget the score. Now, Wu-Dayu can't go up, and everyone's dreams seem to have woken up. Including Minamigo Junichiro, they were already silent. Goyo slowly stood up and looked at his teammates with a relieved smile. "What are you doing? The game is not over yet, I just left the game early. Brothers, don't forget the spirit of art Sukutake. Never give up. I can't fight anymore, you have to go up and punch out my share. This is the basketball that Sukutakes should have. Give up, and it's all over." The words of the 5th generation made Nango Junichiro rarely moved, and he was the first to stand up. The captain is right. The game is far from over. It's not time to give up yet. Then the teammates seemed to be rekindled, one statement after another. For Tsukutake, for himself, for the 5th generation of captains. Never give up. Teammates shouted in unison. Kawasaki Kazumi looked at the 5 generations with satisfaction, and he, a disciple, had grown again. Good. The rest of the time to bring out the best. Whatever the outcome, at the end we can walk into the dressing room with our heads held high. Yes. As the referee whistled, the timeout ended, and the players from both sides returned to the field, and Sakuragi Hanamichi put gauze on the corner of his eyes and walked up full of confidence. The heart of the genius has been completely occupied by the game. The game continued, with Takeshi and the bench desperately cheering for their teammates, and the Tsuhisa players on the field ran and gave their all. Even if you know that there are tigers in the mountains, you also prefer to go to Tiger Mountain. This spirit of Tsuhisu was applauded by the entire audience, including Xiangbei, who was an opponent, and also paid tribute to them. Natsum came out around the cover, received the ball outside the 3-point line, and saw that Bai Ze was coming in an instant, and he shot directly and quickly in a hurry. Everyone in the audience is now looking forward to the sound of iron strikes, as Sakuragi Hanamichi is just one step away from rebounding records. Witnessing is undoubtedly an exciting thing. So much so that when Sakuragi was injured, everyone was worried about dying. As soon as the ball is thrown, the fight begins under the basket. Minamigo Junichiro bypasses Akagi and entangles himself with Sakuragi, vowing to take the offensive rebound. The two competed under the basket, and Sakuragi's state was extremely focused. The basket is like a battlefield, you have to hold your position. Akagi Takeshin's original words flashed through his mind over and over again. Sakuragi opened her arms and pushed her feet hard, trapping Minamigo Junichiro behind her. From the action point of view, it seems to be a second generation of Akagi. Akagi on the side was overwhelmed with satisfaction, trying to clear other obstacles for Sakuragi. Poof! Basketball smashed out of the basket. Nango burst out with strength all over his body, and his face was full of hideousness behind Sakuragi. However, Sakuragi Hanamichi held its position and did not move. Rebounding is my world. With a confident shout, Sakuragi Hanamichi jumped up. At this moment, Keiko and Twilight had tears in their excited eyes on the sidelines. Sakuragi. Take it down. The audience also held their breath, waiting for the moment of creation. I saw Sakuragi Hanamichi stretching out one hand, like the moon for 9 days, and put the basketball down. Landed steadily and won his 22nd rebound of the game. Broke the individual single-game rebounds record in the Kanagawa Prefecture tournament in one fell swoop. The audience erupted into huge applause and cheers. I don't know who took the lead in shouting the words "Rebounding King." Suddenly spread throughout the audience. Rebounding King. Rebounding King. Rebounding King. Coach Enze smiled and called a timeout, let the game freeze, and let Sakuragi enjoy this glory. It wasn't until then that Sakuragi Hanamichi realized that he seemed to have done something remarkable. Rebounding King? This title he himself has been self-styled countless times, but now the whole audience is shouting, leaving Sakuragi a little at a loss. Nango Junichiro snorted coldly in disdain, but in his heart, he seemed to have recognized Sakuragi Hanamichi as an opponent. What are you pretending to be? Red hair, quickly disappear from my eyes. The teammates also rushed to Sakuragi to congratulate him. It's just that Xiangbei's congratulations are a little different, it's not a punch or a kick. Bai Ze even locked Sakuragi's head in his arms. 307 Sakuragi, you don't have to understand, you just need to know that you are now the worthy rebounding king. Sakuragi Hanamichi was startled, and one hand trembled and pointed to himself. So everyone is cheering me on as the rebounding king? Takeshi Akagi also raised a rare eyebrow at him and pressed his red hair. Yes, Sakuragi, this cheer is all because of you, the rebounding king of Xiangbei. Sakuragi Hanamichi stood up and looked around the audience with excitement on her face, as if to confirm this fact. A moment later, he raised his hands and shouted, I'm the rebounding king Sakuragi Hanamichi. This time, no one felt that Sakuragi was self-sufficient, and no one felt that Sakuragi was ignorant and arrogant. This moment is his moment. On Sukute's side, Kazumi Kawasaki and Yukazu Takashiro took the lead in standing up and sending applause to Sakuragi Hanamichi. The genius received the first glory of his basketball career. He also discovered something, I don't know when he started, it seems that he has already fallen in love with playing basketball. After the timeout, Coach Enze removed the tired Mitsui show and replaced it with Twilight. Xiangbei launched the last offensive. With the end of a wave of high dynasties, Anze coach Ming Jin withdrew, replaced with the second Xiangbei formation. And Sukutake, like the spirit they advocate, fought until the last moment. Episode 93, Kanagawa Xiangbei. What's the same? The referee blew his whistle and the game was over. The Tsukurakeshi players on the field finally stopped, and everyone was panting. Some people sat directly on the ground. They did their best without a single reservation. 42-69. Xiangbei finally defeated Tsuhisu Takashi by 73 points and reached the round of 8. Sakuragi Hanamichi finished with 25 rebounds. Take your record even further. Bai Ze is stable as a rock, scoring 35 points, 32 assists, 5 rebounds, 6 steals and 5 blocks. The exaggerated record of 35 plus 30 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 continues. Sugio, last year's quarter-finalist, only caused some trouble for Xiangbei in the opening period. This makes everyone more convinced of the absolute strength of Xiangbei. There is even a narrative that has changed. Everyone has always said that Xiangyang High School is Xiangbei's biggest challenge in Group C. Now it has been changed to Xiangbei will be a roadblock for Xiangyang to the Final Four. In short, the two teams will meet in the next round of 8 to compete for a place ticket to the Final Four. The difference between the strong and the weak will soon be seen. On the sidelines, Kazumi Kawasaki walked to Coach Anze. It's an honor to play against the teacher's team, and you taught me another lesson today. Coach Anze nodded gratifyingly. Kawasaki, you have brought out a very good team, you have really grown a lot, and I look forward to your excellent results next year. Kazumi Kawasaki bowed solemnly. Teacher, you have passed the award, I will ask you more in the future. After speaking, Kazumi Kawasaki began to ask the teacher's body again. Anyway, there was no meaning to go master and apprentice. Coach Anze naturally saw that he had something to say, and he might not know how to speak. It helped him cut to the chase. Kawasaki, do you have something to say? Kawasaki Kazumi rubbed her hands in embarrassment, looking like she wanted to say something. Finally plucked up the courage. Teacher, there is something you may not know, just Bai Ze. He was supposed to come to Tsukutake. Coach Anze laughed and said nothing, basically guessing what fart he was going to fart. Kawasaki Kazumi raised her eyes and looked at it, and coughed lightly. What, teacher, you see that it is inconvenient for Fong to turn Bai Ze around next year? A moment later, Coach Anze smiled and said seriously, goodbye. Looking at the back of Coach Anze, Kazumi Kawasaki shouted undyingly. The teacher is good to discuss, and the year after tomorrow. This scene made the reporters in the media gallery on the sidelines stunned, and couldn't help but sigh. The best young handsome, don't want the face. Finally, players from both sides returned to the pitch as usual to bow and salute each other. The former Kitamura Middle School trio stood together again, and at this time Akaji and Goyo did not have the saber rattling that they had in the morning, as if both of them were suddenly relieved. I didn't expect I still couldn't beat you. Wu Daiyu said with a smile. Takeshi Akaji is still serious. I thought about it, because you'll never be able to win me. After speaking, Akaji showed a smile. The same sentence, 3 years ago made the 5th generation hold a grudge, but now it is like a joke, no one will care. Wu Daiyu smiled indifferently. My high school basketball career is over, and I have no regrets about losing to you. Just like Mu Twilight said, whoever goes out is a member of the North Village. Akaji, Twilight, move on next. Take my share and win the national championship together. Takeshi Akaji nodded non-committally. I don't need you to say I will too. 5 generations, see you in our college league. Until all the players have left, Wu Daiyu he is still standing at the door of the player tunnel. Looking at the arena in fascination, looking at Sukutake's team name. Kazumi Kawasaki walked up to him and said, only when there is a farewell can there be a new beginning. 5 generations, you are an excellent player, this time I did not lie to you. Wu Daiyuan smiled. Coach, this time I really believe it. In the hall of the arena, Kenji Fujima and Hanagata, who were exiting, ran into Shinichi Maki and Ichiro Shinso. The 4 people looked at each other, and at last year's county competition, Mushini led Hainan to defeat Shenyang led by Fujijin, and the 2 teams participated in the national competition as champions and runners-up. It's a pity that we didn't meet again at the national competition. Fujima was accidentally injured during the match against Toyotama High School in the round of 16, causing Shenyang to lose competitiveness and end up in the round of 16. There was a lot of discussion about Fujima's injury, and finally the word if was added to Fujima's name. Hainan eventually reached the national Final Four, but there was also some gap from the national championship. This year, both teams are full of expectations and want to win better positions in the country. Similarly, both teams see each other as potential rivals in the national competition. Because no one in Kanagawa could stop them before, but this year, it seems that it may not be. Mushini took the lead in speaking as a victor. 98-98. How is your injury, Fuji-jin? The quarterfinals will soon begin. Fuji-jin's face is not waveless. Of course he knows that Mushini's words are not concerned about his injury, but the side is talking about Xiangbei. The meaning of the words is that Xiangbei is very likely to defeat you. AMU, you still care about yourself, I will beat you this year. Mushini smiled faintly. These words should wait until you enter the Final Four. You should also see that this year's Xiangbei is full of impact. Fuji-jin snorted lightly. Xiangbei and you are the same. After saying that, he turned to leave, and Hanagata looked at the two and nodded and left. Shinsoi Kairo smiled helplessly. Fuji-jin really has the aura of his own coach. AMU, who do you say can advance between Xiangbei and Xiangyang? The shepherd has a confident face. Whoever makes the cut is the same. Meanwhile, Lingnan High School Arena. I don't know how many days of Kid Rukawa missed class. In the match between Shanabai and Mayoradai, Kid Rukawa left the team halfway. Since then, he has lived almost exclusively in the Lingnan basketball hall. Train with the whole team during the day, and practice until late after the end. Even Shigechi Tauka, a training maniac, couldn't help but persuade him to pay attention to rest. But Lu Chuanfeng was indifferent, watching himself get stronger little by little every day, which was more important to him than anything else. Swish! Rukawa keyed threw another ball, and sweat was already soaking his whole body. The reason why he is so persistent is naturally Bai Ze. Every outburst of Bai Ze was like a scale pressing on his body, almost making him breathless. The idea of defeating Bai Ze has become more and more intense. Even, he can't wait. Episode 94, Reshaping Xiangyang. Player and Coach. Xiangbei Dressing Room. After the match, Sanai went to the dressing room as usual to arrange for media interviews. Xiangbei successfully entered the top 8 in the county today, and there are naturally more related news topics. The most crucial of these is undoubtedly the next match with Xiangyang. Before the start of this year's county competition, Xiangyang was the absolute favorite to win the championship. Last year, Kenji Fuji had already shown extraordinary skills, and only lost to Hainan in the Final Four tour, finishing second. But last year had a very negative factor for Xiangyang. Its internal contradictions. The head coach of the Xiangyang team had a huge disagreement with the school, which also directly led to the turmoil of the basketball team, and many times it was difficult to even train. At that time, some of Xiangyang's third-year players were also frustrated with the team. It was in this situation that Fuji really resisted the banner of the team. Used the ultimate personal ability to lead the team all the way. There are even games where the coach cannot be present due to some factors, and Fujima picks it up. Part-time coach as a player. Xiangyang was in such a team state and finally won the runner-up of the county competition. This situation was also exposed after the All-033 Nations competition. Until then, everyone did not know the situation that Xiangyang had been in all along. Without these things, it is not easy to say what level Xiangyang will reach under the leadership of Fujijin. This year, Xiangyang's interior has stabilized, and third-year players have left the basketball team, and players of the same year as Fujima have become the cornerstone of the team. Fuji Shinya has become a player coach for the first time in history. Xiangyang is unanimously optimistic about the outside world. But at this time, Xiangbei was born in the way of Phoenix Nirvana and reduced the dimension of the group competition. Shirasawa became Kanagawa's hottest star as a rookie. Coupled with the overwhelming media reports, Xiangbei leapt from this dark horse to Xiangyang and became the biggest favorite to win the championship. To be precise, it should have become the biggest challenger in Hainan. The news topic will naturally expand around the comparison between the two teams of Xiangbei and Xiangyang. But to tell the truth, the media is definitely on the side of Xiangbei. Xiangbei has been hot recently, and if you defeat Xiangyang again, the heat can be stirred up. In contrast, if Xiangyang defeats Xiangbei, then all the previous media reports about Xiangbei are to hit themselves in the face. No matter how fierce it was before, it was only a team in the quarterfinals. A team in the top 8 has been overwhelmingly reported for a month, which does not make people laugh to death, and in the end it will only get a well-deserved one, no gimmick at all. The media are gambling, betting that Xiangbei can win, and everyone will be happy if they win. So tomorrow's news in newspapers and magazines will definitely not be too friendly to Xiangyang. But that's all for teams. Although Bai Ze and Xiangbei are bound together, they are also considered to be their own fires. Under the impetus of Sanai's broker, Bai Ze already has certain commercial value. This is something that most players don't have. No matter what the final result of Xiangbei is, as long as Bai Ze does not pull his crotch, he will still be the darling of the media. When he was asked what he thought of the match with Xiangyang, Bai Ze's answer was concise and clear. It must be us who win. Undoubtedly, it has added another fire to the media. Basketball Weekly still doesn't appear in today's media. It is one thing that Xiangbei does not accept their interview, and on the other hand, they are waiting for Xiangbei to lose to Xiangyang. By that time, this industry leader can say it dashingly. News must not only be time-sensitive, but also forward-looking. All the negative effects will disappear directly, and even further strengthen their position. After the interview, Coach Anze said a few words and announced that the team was disbanded on the spot. Rest for the day and train as usual tomorrow to prepare for the round of 8. Bai Ze also ushered in a happy trouble. Sanai and Saiko make an appointment to go to the gym together, and ask Shirasawa to go together. It is called the Messenger of the Flowers. Bai Ze agreed without thinking. Two women in perfect shape dangling in front of them in slim sports vests and yoga pants, this is not what happiness is. What are the worries? I guess I can't see it. And Sakuragi Hanamichi also ushered in a happy moment that belonged to him. Today, Sakuragi is out of the limelight, and he has changed his name, called the genius rebounding king Sakuragi Hanamichi. After a full scream in the dressing room, Takeshi Akagi was also rare and did not get angry. Let him be presumptuous for a day. Originally, he wanted to go to the game hall with Bai Ze to play small steel balls, but Bai Ze's side was embarrassed, and Sakuragi could only go alone, but this did not affect his mood. As soon as the team disbanded, they hummed a little tune and went out. This man, must be smooth when he is smooth. Out of the dressing room, Sakuragi saw the man who made his heart beat infinitely faster. Yi. Leaf? That's right, it's Shimamura Yeko. Today she finally appeared in front of Sakuragi. After the game, Yi Ze hesitated in his seat for a long time, and finally plucked up his courage. But the moment they really met, Yi Ze's cramped fingernails were about to be dug into the palm of his hand. Starting from Shinobi's fight against Mayoradai, Leaf comes every time and silently watches Sakuragi. She couldn't tell how she felt about Sakuragi. Anyway, it all started with the one Sakuragi did for her and Oda. She was able to stand here at this time, also because Sakuragi was injured in the game, which gave her a reason to convince herself. Sakuragi Hanamichi was stunned for a moment, and then ran to the leaves full of joy. That face also turned a little red unconsciously. He was also more nervous than ever. I opened my mouth and didn't know what to say. Just scratching his head and giggling. Leaf raised her head shyly, her big watery eyes looking at the wound at the corner of Sakuragi's eye. Sakuragi, your injury. You okay? Sakuragi Hanamichi's heart was pounding, and her heart rate was gradually speeding. The joy is already palpable. Leaf, you. Are you caring about me? This straight man-like answer made Yi Ze's face red to the root of his ears. Nodded shyly. I saw that you went up to the game again after that, and I was worried that the wound would open, that's why. Both of them were shy and swallowing, which made Miyagi Ryota, who was eavesdropping not far away, couldn't help but shake his head. Just like Miyagi said on the day he saved the Iron Man, his ears are really good. I despised Sakuragi in my heart, but I completely forgot how I confessed that day. Sakuragi Hanamichi also caught the point at this time. Pleasantly said, Yezi. You've been watching my games all the time, right? These words directly pierced Yi Ze's heart. Yi Ze bit his lip crampedly, and after a moment relaxed his shoulders with relief. Sakuragi, you're really good. Episode 95, Akagi is crazy. Something is going to happen in Xiangbei again? Following. Early morning. I really didn't expect it. The iron tree of Sakuragi also has a day to bloom. Yes, I still think he's bragging. Hey. Is Sakuragi's record of lost love going to end here? It's really a pity. Gao Gong and Denanxiong sighed all the way, and this news really surprised them. Only Mito Yohei had seen one or two long ago, and laughed on the side. Sakuragi Hanamichi's big mouth didn't close the whole morning. Man is also completely in a state of dissociation, with leaves all over his head. In fact, there was no substantial breakthrough between the two yesterday. It's just that Hako admits that he has been paying attention to Sakuragi and is happy about his performance on the court. And said that she will continue to go to the scene to cheer Sakuragi after that. But for Sakuragi, that's enough. The relationship between the two took another important step forward, and Sakuragi also restrained himself at that time, not saying anything about communication or anything like that. Maybe I'm afraid of losing it again. After all this did not come easily. As for how to develop in the future, Sakuragi believes that these goods in front of him will definitely not give the answer. Just let them envy it. Seriously, you still have to ask Bai Ze. After all this was first proposed by Bai Ze. If there was no Bai Ze's plan, Yi Zi could only live in his heart. Xiangbei Basketball Hall. When Bai Ze entered the arena, he felt that the atmosphere was a little wrong. Although he was not late, he was relatively late. At the moment, only Sakuragi Hanamichi has not yet arrived. These people present seem to be a little tense in spirits. Completely lost its previous activity. Miyagi practiced shooting to make up for his weaknesses. Mitsui was doing physical training, and it should not be long before the time came, but he was already sweating. Takeshi Akaji's face was as heavy as water, and he kept practicing his steps under the basket. Bai Ze gradually realized that this was because he was going to fight Xiangyang, and he was nervous. It is no wonder that Xiangyang is no less than the existence of Hainan in their hearts, and any team they have encountered before is not at the same level as Xiangyang, and tension before the war is inevitable. But Bai Ze didn't feel anything. He was confident in himself, and he was equally confident in this group of teammates. As he said in an interview, the winner must be us. Simply sit down on the sidelines and bring up the system panel to debug. It's also about improving yourself, but in a different way. After a while, Sakuragi Hanamichi came in with a big grin, and the smile could almost see the stomach from the mouth. But soon the smile froze on his face, and it was clear that the rebounding king had turned the page, and Akaji was back in devil mode with him. Fuck off. When are you still late? Sakuragi Hanamichi looked up at the time and said aggrievedly, it's not time yet, orangutan. I'm not convinced. As soon as the words fell, Akaji punched hard and then dragged Sakuragi to the basket. Akaji didn't say much, picked up the basketball and threw it to the rebound, grabbed it himself and landed on the ground, holding the basketball high with both hands, one foot as the center of gravity, and the other foot driving the body to move left and right. Sakuragi looked at him, not knowing what he was going to do. See clearly. After grabbing a rebound, you can move like this, so you can better create space for yourself. If you have a good chance, you can play by yourself and pass the ball out in time if you don't have a chance. Do as I say. Sakuragi Hanamichi is unknown, but judging from Akaji's expression, if you don't do it, you will probably be beaten. So I learned and did it. That action is a mess, and two big elbows can definitely slash two people down. Akaji shook his head helplessly and went up to correct his movements. Sakuragi Hanamichi said reluctantly, why is it so troublesome? My genius rebounding king Sakuragi can dunk him when he gets the ball. Akaji sighed. Whatever you think, just practice this movement well. After saying that, Akaji turned and walked towards the field, leaving a word. I'll check it back later. Mu Twilight ran to Akaji's side, patted him and smiled warmly. Why are you so strict today? It's time to play the quarterfinals soon, and you should let everyone relax some numbness in their hearts. Akaji said with emotion, Mu Twilight, you should know that Xiangyang's lineup this year is mainly based on height. Although they haven't played yet, almost all of them are over 190 centimeters tall. Then we will have a lot of pressure on the inside. Therefore, Sakuragi will be a top priority. Now I can only teach a little. Mu Twilight nodded non-committally. Xiangyang's lineup was indeed like this. Except for Fujima, almost all of them are big men over 190 centimeters, and this lineup they briefly put out last year. Even though there were a few people who were not very mature at that time, the effect was already obvious. After the off-season, presumably the big guys have improved, which is really tricky. No wonder Akaji is under so much pressure. But we're also strong this year, Akaji. Don't be so stressed. And Sakuragi has also been improving. To be honest, he has improved rapidly. It is estimated that he is still the object that Xiangyang is studying. Takeshi Akaji nodded and pinched his tight brows. Twilight, this year is our last chance, and I know that we can't rush it, but once we miss it, it's over. Since the county competition, we have been playing smoothly, and we have gradually ignored the existence of strong opponents. Now we must let everyone tense up their spirits and go all out to face Xiangyang. After passing this hurdle, you can talk about dominating the country. Twilight smiled knowingly. He was the one who knew Takeshi Akaji best. The current team makes him full of hope and even doubly cherished. The more he did this, the more stressed he became. Just thinking about it, I saw Akaji running to another field. Tsunoda and a few others were practicing their defense, and Akaji stuffed several people into the inside line. Chiseled them one by one. It's not too addictive to gouge once, and let a few of them defend themselves together. Akaji crushed all the way to the basket like a sea of mountains, and he was a two-handed clasp. I don't know if it was hit or the deterrent force was scared, and several people sat on the ground with weak legs. Sakuragi Hanamichi quietly slipped to Twilight's side. Brother Cobra, what's wrong with the gorilla today? Lost in love? Twilight smiled and pushed her glasses. Sakuragi, you must work hard, Akaji is looking forward to you. In addition, he doesn't have time to fall in love, it's Alexander. At this moment, Kawada hurried in. Something happened. Something went wrong. Suddenly, all eyes turned to him. Gentlemen. Episode 96, I'm looking for Bai Ze. Ask for a wave of data and customize. Kawada ran to the field in a hurry. While running, he shouted, something happened. Something went wrong. They even almost stumbled during the run, which made Takeshi Akaji and Twilight suddenly chuckle in their hearts. Something happened again? The first thought was that the problem child legion was in trouble again. The last violent incident is still vividly remembered. It's only been so long. The round of 8 is about to start, and Xiangbei can't afford to toss. And now Xiangbei is almost living under the microscope of the media, and it may not be easy to imagine a big thing like before. Kawada ran to the middle of the arena, holding his knees and gasping for air. The seriousness of the situation can be seen from the expression. What the hell is wrong with Kawada? Say it quickly. Twilight urged anxiously. Stream. Heed Rukawa is here. That Luchuan maple in Lingnan. As soon as the words fell, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and almost wanted to pinch Kawada to death. Come to a Luchuan maple, what are you panicking? It's not that I haven't seen it. Kawada, you really want to scare me to death. Twilight patted his heart for the rest of his life. Immediately the doubt came up, what did Luchuan Feng do in Xiangbei? This Lingnan will also play a game soon, shouldn't you train at this time? Even if you don't train, it's class time. He doesn't seem to have any acquaintances in the team. Compared to Twilight's gentleness, Takeshi Akaji's iron fist was unreasonable, and Kawada was stunned with one punch. Stupid. What a panic looks like. Let people see the joke. Where is Rukawa keyed? Is it to the basketball team? Kawada covered his head with a grievance. People are already timid. Yes, Captain. Rukawa keyed must have come to the basketball team. And he looked imposing. I greeted him and he glared at me. So I quickly ran back to report the letter, afraid that he would do something against us. Miyagi snorted coldly with disdain. Kawada, you are too useless, this is the Xiangbei basketball team. Don't say a Luchuan Feng, don't be afraid of how many people come. Mitsui also came over covered in sweat. That newcomer from Lingnan, I have also heard of it, come to us to spy on the military situation, interesting. As soon as Twilight saw that these two were in trouble, he hurriedly stood up to appease, for fear that they would have nothing to do. Thanks to the fact that Shirasawa and Sakuragi had not yet participated, Sakuragi was muttering about the practice, and Bai Ze was sitting on the sidelines like a high-ranking monk, and the old monk was settled. It's strange, but it's at least better than the two of them. Don't worry, let's see his intentions first, maybe it's just to come and go around casually. As he spoke, a figure appeared at the door of the arena. Rukawa Kid stood there expressionless. This is Xiangbei, right? A faint word, but it made people feel cold on their bodies. No wonder Kawada was afraid of him. Miyagi's brow is already wrinkled. Isn't this nonsense? You just finished a practice game not long ago. Did you forget us all? Humph, you also have no memory, junior brother of Lingnan. As soon as the words were finished, Lu Chuanfeng's cold gaze approached Miyagi. Miyagi did not hesitate, and there was a playful smile at the corner of his mouth. The state of the two is what do you see? What do you do? Feel like war is about to break out. But the person who ignited the fire also appeared. Sakuragi Hanamichi had already moved to Miyagi's side, touching her chin and looking Rukawa keyed up and down. This man looks familiar, looks like a fox. Where did you see it? This was not what they pretended. At that time in that practice game, Rukawa Kid's eyes were only Bai Ze and the basket. He didn't care about the others at all. Sakuragi Hanamichi belongs to the lack of long-term heart at all. Seeing that the situation was not good, Mu Twilight hurriedly stepped forward and interrupted the tense atmosphere. Lu Chuanfeng, this is Xiangbei. Yes, what are you here for? Did Coach Tauka let you come? Rukawa Kid shook his head. I'm looking for Bai Ze. Host, Shirasawa. Height, 188 centimeters, weight 90 kilograms, arm span 195 centimeters, body fat percentage, 6%. Shot, 88, athleticism, 94, possession 93, ball quotient, 92, pass, 99. Evaluation, the core of the field, the big boss of the team. After the previous group stage, Bai Ze's ability has been greatly improved, and the way to add points can be regarded as rain and dew, and it is fully developed. The overall ability is less than 90 shots, and the rest is already impressive. Even the body fat rate has been reduced by another 1%, and there is no such thing as controlling the diet. It is not difficult to see from the evaluation that now this ability value is already very prominent. These 30+ assists are not taken in vain, and the ability value is increased while the money is naturally gained. Make everything seem more valuable. Immediately entered the quarterfinals Xiangyang, and the pursuit of personal ability values has finally been basically completed. If you take a few or a dozen assists per game, the picture will definitely be very different now. In short, Bai Ze is very satisfied with the current state. Xiaobai, Xiaobai. There was a call in his ears, which made Bai Ze come back from his thoughts. When he turned around, Mu Twilight Gongyan was looking at him in surprise. Xiaobai, you recovered? It scared me to death. I thought you were out of your body and didn't react at all. I heard that this situation can't be directly photographed awake, and it's easy to get insane. Bai Ze was stunned when he heard this. Huh? How can it be so imaginative? It's good if you're okay, someone is coming to you. With that, Twilight pointed to the location of the doorway. Bai Ze stood up suspiciously and saw Lu Chuanfeng at a glance. Then he thought the same as everyone, what is he doing? Lu Chuanfeng also saw Bai Ze, and his icy eyes immediately became a few degrees colder. Lu Chuanqid's sudden appearance this time is precisely because of today's reports. Yesterday, Xiangbei reached the quarterfinals, and the media unsurprisingly bombed again. Hold Bai Ze and Xiangbei extremely high. 0.3 These are not important to Rukawa Kid, after all, the media has been like this recently, and he is used to it. Not only Kanagawa, but also many people in other prefectures are paying attention to Shinobi and Shirasawa. But there is a news headline that makes Rukawa Kid unacceptable. The quarterfinals are imminent, and Bai Ze is expected to become the strongest high school student in the country. The strongest high school student's words, in the eyes of Ruchuan Kid, are particularly dazzling. This is what he has been pursuing, and he has been working hard for this goal since he was in middle school. The idea of becoming the strongest high school student in the country is similar to Akaji's obsession with dominating the country. It's just that Lu Chuanfeng only pursues the ultimate individual, and has no interest in what dominates the country at all. In terms of the ability he showed during his junior high school days, he is infinitely close to the two strongest words. Until he met Bai Ze in the final, he questioned himself for the first time. Episode 97, General. Can't let you return empty-handed. Since then, Bai Ze has been the object he must defeat. It is also a scale to measure yourself. But he didn't expect that after joining Lingnan in high school, another person with the ability above him came out of the team. Immortal Road. Rukawa Kid had challenged the Immortal Dao a total of 3 times, and all of them had lost. But the process of winning the game is also more and more difficult every time. Then, another name appeared, the best player in the national competition, Eiji Zebei. This is currently the only high school student recognized as the strongest in the country. Since then, there has been one more imaginary enemy of Rukawa Kid. But whether it is Xiangbei or Zebei, the damage to Lu Chuanfeng is not as great as Bai Ze. Bai Ze can be described as a shadow-like existence for him. That sentence, "before I attack, you lose," always echoing in his heart. From the day Bai Ze launched the offensive, Rukawa Kid also began to train frantically. By now, he has enough confidence in himself. I thought about waiting until Xiangbei advanced to the Final Four, and then play a big match with Bai Ze on the Final Four tour. After beating Shirasawa, then playing Sendo, and finally defeating Eiji Zebei in the national competition, breaking through one by one in order 26, completing his obsession as the strongest high school student. But today's news made him impatient. The word strongest high school student stimulated him too much. It was so big that he came directly to Xiangbei. He didn't want to prove anything to others, but in his own heart, he couldn't accept that Bai Ze was one step ahead of him. If this news was about Immortal Dao, he might not have reacted so much. Because Immortal Dao did win him. But Bai Ze has never confronted him head-on so far. The number of shots of Bai Ze in the two pairs has always been 0. This made Lu Chuanfeng very unconvinced. The desire for survival in my heart burned wildly. "Bai Ze, I want to fight you one-on-one." As soon as the words fell, the entire Xiangbei team was stunned. The purpose of Lu Chuan Kid coming over was actually this. It's common for teammates to play one-on-one, and even if players from two different teams meet on the field outside, it's okay to play a one-on-one match. But this specially came to the basketball team to challenge, but it is really the first person in the world, especially now the special relationship between Xiangbei and Lingnan. In terms of Lingnan's strength and grouping, it is certain that he has entered the Final Four. If Xiangbei wins Xiangyang and enters the Final Four, then the two teams will definitely meet once in the Final Four tour. Under such preconditions, it is absolutely irrational to come to the enemy team to play head-on. No matter who loses this game, it will be a psychological blow to the losing team. If Shigechi Tauka knew about this, he could swallow Kid Rukawa alive. Takeshi Akagi couldn't allow it and immediately stood up. "This is so nonsense. If you want to compete, see you in the Final Four." However, Lu Chuanfeng ignored him at all, staring at Bai Ze like a torch, waiting for him to accept his challenge. Compared to Akagi, Twilight thought of a deeper place. "Rukawa Kid, this is in the general. Even if the two people do not fight, Xiangbei will inevitably be affected. Because the distance between rejection and throwing in the towel is just a layer of paper. You can understand that Bai Ze refuses to fight, or it can be understood that Bai Ze is afraid of losing." Mu Twilight couldn't help but greet Rukawa Kid's family in her heart. "But I'm afraid that only this chief and vice captain thinks so." Looking at the others, they all looked eager to try, as if they were afraid that Bai Ze would refuse. Because they don't think about those things on the mental level, they are just full of confidence in Bai Ze. In their hearts, Bai Ze will never lose to anyone. Lu Chuan Kid is just asking for his own suffering. Bai Ze did not disappoint everyone either, and smiled indifferently. "Well, I can't tell you to come back empty-handed." As soon as the words fell, Akagi and Twilight were like black charcoal. "So, yes?" Rukawa Kid took out a pair of basketball shoes from his bag and changed them on the sidelines with an excited face. "Finally, at this moment, I can finally part with Bai Ze." As for what team is mentally concerned, it is not on his radar at all. Besides, he doesn't think he's going to lose. Bai Ze's performance and exaggerated data will not affect him, because in his opinion, what double 30, what personal exclusive record is. If he were Bai Ze, he would average 50 points per game against those teams. Only scoring is the last word, and it is the only criterion for judging the strength of players. The battle on Bai Ze's side was bigger, and his teammates all gathered around to cheer up, and Sakuragi Hanamichi pinched Bai Ze's shoulders like a dog. "Xiaobei, kill him. I remembered this color, it was the person from Lingnan, and he hit me during the practice match. This genius really wants to know him with his own hands." Miyagi snorted indifferently and said mercilessly, "Let's face it, Sakuragi, you can't win that guy. But Xiaobei can definitely give our quarterfinals a hot field first." Bai Ze looked relaxed, as if he didn't take this seriously at all. This sudden challenge was a surprise for Bai Ze. First of all, he had fought in the practice match, and at that time, he had already given Rukawa Kid a skeptical life. It's just that he didn't attack. Now that more than a month has passed, my ability has made a qualitative leap. It is better for Lu Chuanfeng to be an alchemy stone. Secondly, the second step of the development of brokerage companies may be advanced. A few minutes later, under everyone's attention, Bai Ze and Rukawa Feng walked onto the field. Mitsui took the initiative to take the final as a referee, holding a whistle with a look of anticipation. Takeshi Akagi didn't say a word with a black face. 850, from the moment Shirasawa took the battle, things were out of control, and all he could do as a captain was to silently cheer for Shirasawa. Twilight, on the other hand, struggled and whispered to Akagi. The whole person looked panicked. Mitsui stood between Shirasawa and Rukawa Kid, announcing the rules. Hit 11 points for a change, a sure winner. The two nodded, and Bai Ze directly gave up the first power to Lu Chuanfeng. Rukawa Kid was also not pretentious, and directly held the ball at the top of the arc and began to prepare for the first attack. Mitsui blew the whistle very formally, signaling that the game was beginning. Lu Chuanfeng held the ball in both hands, his eyes stared at Bai Ze tightly. He did not dare to be careless about Bai Ze's strength, and every choice may be the key to victory or defeat. Bai Ze let him go 2 steps away. Observe the movements of Rukawa Kid. Snapping Lu Chuan Kid began to dribble, his eyes were cold, and he directly wanted to start on the right side. Bai Ze moved sideways to block the way, and the two made their first physical contact. At the moment of confrontation, Lu Chuanfeng felt Bai Ze's power. He was completely at a disadvantage and immediately stopped, dribbling behind 2 consecutive backs to adjust the center of gravity, extremely fast. Then just get up and jump the shot. Miyagi couldn't help but sigh, this guy's speed is too fast. It's time to get the next ride first. Just when the ball was about to strike, Rukawa Kid suddenly showed shock. Episode 98, Extreme Operation. You fooled us all. Rukawa Kid's dribbling speed is indeed very fast. The rhythm is also just right, including his improvised offensive choices, which can take everything to the extreme. It's a pity that the person he faced was Bai Ze. Just when Lu Chuanfeng was about to make a move, the white Ze in front of him rose up. That reaction was completely beyond his expectations. It was clear that the timing was just right, but it was still resolved by him. Moreover, Bai Ze's bullet speed was also extremely exaggerated, which instantly obscured Lu Chuanfeng's line of sight. Xiaobei. Guy him. Sakuragi Hanamichi shouted excitedly. I saw that the two people were in the air, but the ball in Lu Chuanfeng's hand never shot. Even Bai Ze was not surprised. Did he want a falling jumper? This also has to divide the opponent's good. This kind of high-end game you play the fall, is not looking for death. Lu Chuanfeng's face could not see a trace of waves, and he continued to fall. Until he fell to the ground. The audience was stunned. One by one, they poked their necks, completely unclear, and their faces were full of question marks. When Bai Ze landed, Lu Chuanfeng dashingly gave him the ball, did not say a word, and consciously stood in a defensive position. Twilight blinked. Let's just say. Is it possible that you are afraid of getting hatted? Takeshi Akagi next to him nodded thoughtfully. I'm afraid that this is the only explanation. Everyone suddenly followed one after another. It is also reasonable, after all, Bai Ze's cover just now seems to be inevitable. Instead of eating a cap and letting the momentum fade, it is better to choose to send a mistake. At least the gap in my heart is not so big. It's just that everyone didn't expect that Rukawa Kid would end the first attack in such a way. This offensive maniac, who was famous in the middle of the country, turned out to be afraid of times. Xiaobei's horror is really immeasurable. Only Sakuragi Hanamichi shouted at Mitsui, he fouled mistress. Should be free throw. Takeshi Akagi moved sideways and sent out an iron fist. Shut up. Give me a quiet look, don't embarrass Xiangbei. Swapping the ball, for the choice of Rukawa Kid just now, Bai Ze also found it quite interesting. Mainly with his cold expression, that contrast is the biggest laugh. Shirasawa holds the ball and threatens 3. Although it was a single pick and there was one less passing threat, the double threat of sudden and shooting alone also made Rukawa Kid feel twice the pressure. And defense was originally his weak point. The picture of Bai Ze shaking him clean several times is still vividly remembered, and he dared not relax in the slightest. Xiaobei's offensive means are very rich, and Lu Chuanfeng will definitely not be able to deal with it. Mu Twilight said resolutely. In the previous matches, Twilight has been sitting on the bench, which can be said to be a VIP ticket. Every attack of Bai Ze was in his eyes. Whether the other party is one person or two people, so far Bai Ze has not been prevented. Those hands and the basketball are like being tied together by an invisible thread, and the ball feels excellent. Bai Ze observed for a moment, and saw that Lu Chuanfeng did not go forward, obviously caring about his breakthrough ability compared to shooting. Leave plenty of room for your defense to adjust. Bai Ze saw the opportunity tentatively, pulled the ball up, and also chose to break through from the right side. Lu Chuan Maple immediately moved horizontally to block. The moment the two made physical contact, Bai Ze made two consecutive back dribbling adjustments, exactly the same as Lu Chuanfeng's last attack. Not only is the movement the same, but the speed is the same. Bai Ze completed the action, pulled the ball back in advance with his left hand. Rukawa keyed seemed to see his own shadow. Bai Ze held his right hand at the same time, looking up at the basket. Seeing that he was about to complete the shooting action, Lu Chuanfeng immediately forced over, not giving shooting space at the moment when he changed position. Bai Ze's weak right hand retracted again, his left wrist turned outward, and the basketball passed by Lu Chuanfeng. At the same time, Bai Ze also skimmed in front of him. Shake clean again. Rukawa Feng looked back angrily at Bai Ze and easily scored the ball with a three-step layup. Xiangbei suddenly shouted. Good ball, Xiaobei. Pretty. This feint tricked us all. Takeshi Akaji finally showed a smile, and his heart couldn't help but let go a lot. It's not that he doesn't believe in Bai Ze's strength, but he has experienced too much, and he knows that anything can happen on the basketball court. Rukawa Kid is also a well-known attack maniac, and it is difficult not to pinch a sweat for Bai Ze. Moreover, today's Akaji was already nervous, the quarterfinals were approaching, and his mind was all chaotic, for fear that something would go wrong anywhere and affect the overall situation. Sakuragi Hanamichi did not shout again this time, but quietly walked to Mu Twilight's side and asked softly, Brother Prospects, Xiaobai just dribbled the ball for the second time, don't worry, I won't make a noise. To deal with a villain like Lu Chuanfeng, it is also appropriate to use some special means. As soon as he finished speaking, he was hit with another heavy punch in the head. Takeshi Akaji had a black face. Stupid. Don't pretend to understand here. Shut your mouth for me. Looking at the aggrieved Sakuragi Hanamichi, Twilight gave an explanation warmly. Xiaobai's ball definitely has no second luck, it can be regarded as a limit operation, which can be simply understood as a fake shot and a real sudden, and the center of gravity of the deceived defender has changed, and it can't keep up with the next rhythm. But this is simple to say, but it is extremely difficult to apply to actual combat. Xiaobai is really strong. The on-field game continues. 2 o'clock, the two sides exchanged the ball together. With the last experience, Rukawa Kid was more cautious. It's also even more exciting. After continuous crotch dribbling, seize the momentary opportunity and possess it suddenly. As soon as the two bodies made contact, Rukawa Kid stopped and changed the rhythm, half-turned and forced out of the half-step space, threw a hand from the right side of the basket, and the basketball bounced on the basket and fell in. Rukawa Kid took a deep breath, obviously this attack also consumed him a lot. In his opinion, Bai Ze's defensive pressure is much higher than that of Immortal Dao. Every breakthrough is extremely difficult. If it were not for the hard training during this time, I am afraid that I would have struggled to the bottom. 2-2. Rukawa Kid tenaciously moved back to the score. It also made Xiangbei quieter for the time being. Bai Ze walked up to him and threw the ball to him, saying in a voice that only the two of them could hear, It's improved a lot, Rukawa Kid, do you want to win me so much? Lu Chuanfeng's eyes were deep, and he nodded with a strong sense of war. Bai Ze smiled meaningfully, Well, if you can't win, you have to promise me one thing, dare you play? Don't worry, it's never a bad thing for you. Lu Chuanfeng frowned slightly, I will definitely win. Episode 99, Eagle Predation. The meaning of misery. Miyagi, what are they muttering? Sakuragi Hanamichi moved to Miyagi's side again at some point. This question can also be regarded as asking the right person. If you ask who has the best ears in Xiangbei, it must be Miyagi Ryota. Yesterday after Sakuragi and Leaf separated in the corridor, Miyagi immediately jumped out and laughed madly. This makes Sakuragi remember Miyagi's ears vividly. At this time, Miyagi was also holding his ears very seriously, and shook his head regretfully after half a ring. I didn't hear me. Sakuragi Fox was suspicious. Liar. I talked to Yezi, how can you hear everything? Miyagi shrugged, because you're a fool talking too loudly. The field continued. Bai Ze had achieved his goal, and he was waiting to win this game. To do this, you can speed up a little and give the Ruchuan maple an intensity. Bai Ze dribbled the ball at the top of the arc, and his shoulders swayed from side to side with the basketball. The continuous butterfly-piercing flowers made Rukawa Kid's feet a little messy. I have to say that compared to Rukawa Feng's own offensive ability, his defense is indeed more crotch-pulling. His defense is basically based on his physical condition. The sense of pressure is very low, and the 227 is much inferior to the defensive players of Mitsui or Akagami. At least Bai Ze was confident that he could hit him casually. Bai Ze's feet moved, and he turned around and wiped against Luchuan Feng's body. Luchuan Feng's heart tightened, and he immediately reflexively leaned over. Rushing out 2 steps, Bai Ze suddenly braked with his left foot, and Rukawa Kid hurriedly blocked the shooting route. Then he saw Bai Ze's feet tighten and his body twisted. Luchuan Feng's pupils suddenly shrank. Bad. The center of gravity foot is not this one. But it was too late. Bai Ze directly opened up 2 steps away from him with this turn, and easily scored a jumper. Let the atmosphere of Xiangbei heat up again. Bai Ze often played beautiful attacks in previous games, and many of them were in the face of bags, and even the famous scene of picking 5 was not uncommon. But Bai Ze's heads-up is the first time that all the teammates in Xiangbei have met. He has never played one-on-one on the team. Of course, no one challenged him. Especially the starters in Xiangbei, this is the first time to watch Bai Ze play off the court. This feeling is more intuitive than on the field. Undoubtedly, he has a new understanding of Bai Ze's singles ability. Switching back to Luchuan Kid's attack, Luchuan Kid dribbled away several times, all of which were blocked back by Bai Ze. This made Mu Twilight on the sidelines a little unbelievable. Akaji, I don't know if it's my illusion, I feel that Xiaobai's defensive intensity is continuing to improve. Akaji nodded non-committally. That's right, Rukawa Feng has not changed, it is Xiaobai who has changed. The defense of the last round seemed to be closing. Testing. It's just the official beginning. As he was speaking, he saw Bai Ze entangled Luchuan Kid and cut the ball off. Rukawa Kid also reacted quickly, struggling to run a step to regain control of the ball, and also took this opportunity to create a rare space for himself. Shoot your horse now. All the way to the basket, Bai Ze started to follow closely at the same time. Luchuan Feng swept away, saw that there was a distance of about 1 step between the two, and directly took 2 steps into the air. Bai Ze got up half a beat behind. Luchuan Feng also has a good bouncing power, and this jump obviously uses enough strength. Basketball with one hand is unstoppable. At the same time, Bai Ze also stabbed out obliquely, with a fierce momentum. Everyone on the sidelines held their breath and watched this aerial showdown. Seeing that the basket was far away, and Bai Ze's hand was about to kill, he did not hesitate and pulled the ball down with all his strength. Slam dunks aren't that good. Not only must you grasp the timing of the capping, the most important thing is that you have to have the strength and courage. After all, the attacker is dynamic, while the defender is relatively static. How many caps end up becoming the attacker's backdrop? Luchuan Feng wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to suppress Bai Ze's arrogance with one button. Just when Luchuan Feng was about to succeed, Bai Ze flew like a hunting eagle. One hit. Accurate and ruthless. Bang. A huge force blocked the basketball in Rukawa Kid's hand. Bai Ze nailed the ball to the rebound with both hands. The two had a momentary competition, and Luchuan Feng was defeated in an instant. He glanced at Bai Ze in disbelief, and then slowly fell. Until one ass sits on the floor. At the same time, Bai Ze took off the ball with both hands and landed steadily. After a moment of silence on the sidelines, everyone completely exploded. Bai Ze's cover is simply terrifying. It's not common enough to take off your hat, let alone dunk. The nearest referee, Mitsui Sho, even covered his eyes exaggeratedly. In this way, it expresses the 4 words of misery. Akaji Takeshin's lips trembled slightly. He could be regarded as a person who had sent many violent caps, but none of them could compare with Bai Ze. Mu Twilight swallowed her saliva and shook her head in amazement. I'm really glad that Shirasawa is on our team now. Otherwise, if I were to face him. Speaking of this, Mu Twilight couldn't help but shiver. but no one can understand the feelings of the parties. Lu Chuanfeng sat on the ground and stared straight at Bai Ze, and even couldn't remember what happened just now. It's not forgotten, it's hard to look back. The fear of that moment can only be indescribable. Bai Ze looked down at him and smiled faintly. I don't really like people dunking on my head. The game continues, switching offensive and defensive. After experiencing that cap, Rukawa Kid was somewhat affected. The momentum at the beginning has obviously weakened. This trade-off, Bai Ze is completely out of the state. Facing Ryukawa Kid dribbled continuously under his crotch, he suddenly turned his body to the right and made a turn. Lu Chuanfeng immediately moved the card position, but he could look at it and see that Bai Ze's right hand did not have a basketball. At this moment, Bai Ze suddenly turned back. The half-turn just now was fake, and the ball bounced up and was caught by the left hand. Turning around, he skipped past Rukawa Kid. It's pretty. Good ball. The teammates watching from the sidelines couldn't help shouting. Transporting 2 steps, Bai Ze got up and dunked. You can see how excited he is now from the strength of this dunk. Over the next few rounds, Kid gradually weakened, reducing breakthroughs and using more jump shots. However, under Bai Ze's interference, there was an iron sound. If he insists on breaking through, the effect may be much better than it is now. But that cap did get him lost. On the defensive end, there is no way to take Bai Ze. After each round of attack and defense, Lu Chuanfeng was panting heavily. Both mentally and physically, they are extremely drained. This feeling of powerlessness he had never felt before. With Kid Rukawa once turned back and missed a jumper, 10:2. Bai Ze got the match point attack. This heads-up has lost its suspense, and it depends on Bai Ze whether Bai Ze can finish with this attack. Bai Ze dribbled the ball, and his teammates on the sidelines kept cheering him on. Rukawa Kid kept a distance of 2 steps, opening his arms to prevent a breakthrough. Saw Bai Ze suddenly close the ball and take a step away from the 3-point line. Shot. Episode 100, the first battle that affected the pattern of Kanagawa. Bai Ze, who has always insisted on breaking through, chose to fire from the outside on this last attack. Rukawa Kid really didn't expect it. After all, there is nothing wrong with his position. Can prevent breakthroughs and prevent 3-pointers, who knows that you are still 1 step away from the 3-point line to shoot, but Rukawa Kid has some expectations in his heart that this goal can be scored, because he is relieved when it is over. Bai Ze's strength far exceeded his imagination. It can be said that he was not defeated, but subdued. A single pick is almost impossible to fight back. He believes that even if he plays 11 more balls, the result will be the same. However, it is interesting that Rukawa Kid is also a strange person, and he has not lost his confidence because of this. On the contrary, I was somewhat relieved. Because this game allowed him to verify one thing. It's Bai Ze's sentence. Before I attacked, you lost. Now Rukawa Kid is very sure that this sentence is not a mockery, but a truth. He really can't beat it. But he will not give up. Bai Ze will still be his biggest imaginary enemy. The goal of the strongest high school student was changed to defeat Shirasawa. Because no matter who he defeated, he would have to pass Bai Ze in the end. Swish. Basketball is caught accurately. Xiangbei cheered. Mitsui, the idol referee, also blew the whistle to announce the end of the match. 3-2. Bai Ze smiled indifferently. As much as the landlord friendship, I will give you 2 more points. Lu Chuanfeng was still like a glacier, and no one could see through his mood at the moment, and silently went to the side to change his shoes. Twilight stepped forward and took a bottle of water for him. Lu Chuanfeng, we will not publicize this game today. I believe that this time you came over is your personal behavior, and it has nothing to do with Lingnan. Looking forward to a fair match between our 2 teams in the Final 4. Mu Twilight is a good old man in the end. Even though he was dissatisfied with Lu Chuanfeng's approach at the beginning, now that Bai Ze has won, forget it. After all, Xiangbei can also be regarded as picking up this psychological advantage in vain, and there is no need to fall into the well, so let's all be a technical exchange. Lu Chuanfeng nodded. He had never felt this matter, and it was only this bottle of water that nodded. In the end, Bai Ze also fulfilled the friendship of the landlord and sent Rukawa Feng out of the arena as a victor. Lu Chuanfeng, who had been silent, only then did he speak. What do you want me to promise you? A word was speechless, but if he could bring it up, it meant that he recognized it. It's a loser. Bai Ze smiled lightly. You should know that I signed a player agent, right? The matter of the broker is no longer a secret, and it has spread since the day there was a commercial activity to find Bai Ze. Not to mention the outside world, at least in Kanagawa's basketball circle, basically knows. Luchuan Kid is naturally no exception. It's just that the players don't take it too seriously. At most, when I first know it, I feel fresh and will discuss a few words. And that's it, because most people don't understand what the point is. If you can decide something yourself, why find an intermediary? Rukawa Kid nodded incomprehensibly. Bai Ze continued, what agents can do is by no means as simple as you think, and I will explain it to you later when I have time. I'm sure you'll be very interested in what happens after that. Hearing this, Luchuan Feng was stunned. What do you mean? Bai Ze smiled slightly. That's right, I want you to join my brokerage company and become a member of the team. Luchuan Feng never expected that what Bai Ze said was actually this. For a player's agent, in his opinion, it is nothing more than commercial value. And Luchuan Feng's family is very good. Even if he does not earn money by playing in the future, he can have food and clothing. He didn't understand anything else. However, he was curious about why Bai Ze wanted him to join, and what the so-called interesting arrangement would be. Why should I join? Rukawa Kid remained cold. In this regard, Bai Ze gave two reasons. First, you lost to me. This is understandable, and Luchuan Feng somewhat regretted it in his heart. Second, my brokerage company does not sign nameless. Bai Ze's words were loud. Like a pendulum, it struck on Rukawa Kid's heart. Do not sign the nameless. This sentence alone is domineering enough. Luchuan Feng's heart felt a little surging. Neither reason made him refuse. Rukawa Kid showed a rare smile. Don't sign the nameless, I'll join. At this point, Sanai, the player's agent, has a second player. One of Kanagawa's best newcomers, Kid Rukawa. Although Rukawa Kid didn't know whether his decision was correct when he left, let alone what would happen in the future. But he didn't care about that. One is willing to gamble and lose, and the other is to rush the nameless person who does not sign. The third is the follow-up arrangement that interests him, and Sanai will tell him in detail when he signs the contract tomorrow. Match day. The quarterfinals of the county competition officially kicked off today. A total of 4 matches will be played in 2 venues. 4 seeded teams will also be featured today. The first 2 seeded teams were Lingnam and Buri. As last year's top 4, Buri naturally has a certain strength. It's just that the other 3 are strong. It completely obscures them. But compared to other teams, Buri is still superior to them. The final match was also without any surprises, and Buri survived to the semifinals for the second year in a row with a steady team play. This match is the least that media warms up to. At the same time, it is also the least for the live audience and media. The birth of the first Final Four did not make a single wave. On the other field, Lingnan High School, which competed with Buri, the scene was completely different. In Lingnan last year, a wave of loyal fans was accumulated. The star Xiangbei is also very popular. Coupled with the introduction of Luchuan Feng, who is known as a super newcomer this year, Lingnan, which can be this year, is full of competitiveness. Naturally, the attention has risen to another level. The match didn't disappoint either. Lingnan seemed to be holding back, and the tone of victory was set in just a few minutes in the opening game. Yusumi continues the name of the monster, guarding the inner line, and a husband is a man. Xiangbei played the whole game very easily, and scored 28 points at a leisurely stroll, as if he didn't sweat much. The most amazing thing is definitely Rukawa Kid. Rukawa Kid was full of fire from the moment he appeared, and all kinds of scoring methods rained down on his opponent. In the end, the game exploded with 46 points. The first game of your high school career, a battle to fame. Debut is the pinnacle. After the game, the whole Lingnan team left immediately. Head to the arena of Xiangbei versus Xiangyang. This match was undoubtedly the most watched of the entire quarterfinals. Who wins and who loses may affect the pattern of the entire Kanagawa.